2, 1.
Rudy Giuliani breaks some interesting news about President Trump's payoff to Stormy Daniels. Hillary Clinton finally stumbles on a true statement accidentally, and Democrats are actually having some problems in the polls. I'm Ben Shapiro. This is The Ben Shapiro Show. Alrighty, so there's a lot of breaking news on the Donald Trump Stormy Daniels front. I'm going to break it all down for you. I'm going to give you all the legal information that you need to understand exactly what's been happening with the Trump payoff to the porn star that Trump once had sex with, and why this is important or why it's not important. But first, I want to say thanks to our sponsors over at Birch Gold. So, right now the economy is doing swimmingly. Things are really, really good. But that means that you should actually be hedging for the possibility of a downturn in the future. And one of the ways that you can do that is by investing in precious metals. Now, I'm not a person who says you should take all of your money and dump it into precious metals, because I think that would be foolish. I do, however, think that you should have a certain percentage of your assets in precious metals, specifically because the government can inflate the currency, there's volatility in the market, and as we've seen, the market is bouncing around a lot, even though overall it is up. And there are a lot of people who are predicting the possibility of a bubble bursting here. Well, if that should happen, you'll be happy that you put some of your money with my friends over at Birch Gold in precious metals. Birch Gold Group has a long-standing track record of continued success with thousands of satisfied clients, countless five-star reviews, and an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau. Contact Birch Gold Group right now, and you can request a free information kit on physical precious metals. They have a comprehensive 16-page kit showing how gold and silver can protect your savings and how you can legally move your IRA or 401k out of stocks and bonds and into a precious metals IRA if so you choose. To get that no-cost and no-obligation kit, go to birchgold.com/Ben. That's birchgold.com/Ben. Use that /Ben to get the free information kit and to let them know that we sent you as well. Okay, so Rudy Giuliani is the newest member of the Trump legal team. The Trump legal team has been seeing some turnover in recent days. So Ty Cobb is no longer with the Trump legal team. He takes his .366 lifetime batting average, and he leaves the Trump legal team. Nap LaJoie left along with him. But he's being replaced by a guy who was instrumental in helping Bill Clinton fight impeachment charges and criminal charges. So there is an upgrade, I think, in the legal house for President Trump. But then Rudy Giuliani goes on TV. And this is real weird, because remember that the whole Michael Cohen scandal is the one that is most likely to hurt President Trump. Right? The Trump-Russia collusion stuff, I really don't think that's going anywhere. I think that it's very unlikely that Special Counsel Robert Mueller has any serious information that links President Trump to collusion with Russia over the election. I think a lot of the talk about obstruction is going to be very, very difficult to prove. It's more of a political matter than it is a criminal matter. So I really doubt that Robert Mueller has the goods on President Trump. And when I say really doubt, I mean I would be astonished if he has the legal goods on President Trump, which is why he wants to interview President Trump, because he wants Trump to fall into a perjury trap. He wants President Trump to lie to him or fib to him or make a mistake that reveals something to him. So that means that if the real threat is not Robert Mueller to the Trump administration legally, then the real threat is from Michael Cohen. So remember, Michael Cohen is the president's personal lawyer, and his offices a couple of weeks ago were raided by the FBI. Now, the rationale for that raid was supposedly that the FBI was looking for proof of campaign finance violations in the Stormy Daniels payoff. The going legal theory was this. Michael Cohen had given $130,000 to Stormy Daniels to shut her up about an affair she had with Trump back in 2006. It was right before the election. And Trump said he knew nothing about it. So the legal theory was that Michael Cohen had made an in-kind contribution to the Trump campaign. That the reason that he paid Stormy Daniels to shut up is because it was the very end of the campaign and he wanted to protect his friend. And so therefore he paid off Stormy Daniels. And this was a campaign payment, essentially, a contribution that passes the $2,700 maximum amount that you're allowed to give. And so Michael Cohen had violated campaign finance law. Now, if Trump had said, listen, I paid for it myself, then you wouldn't have violated that particular campaign finance law, because Trump is allowed to spend as much on his own election as he wants. Trump ended up spending something like $66 million in the last election cycle on his own elect effort. So if he had said, listen, I paid off Stormy Daniels and that was my thing and I'm allowed to do that, that would have been totally fine. So Michael Cohen was sort of on the hook in terms of the in-kind contribution question. But if Trump had paid for the thing directly and then revealed that to the FEC, that would have been no problem. Which raises a second question. Did Trump pay for it? And if Trump did pay for it, does that get Michael Cohen off the hook? Or does it sort of shift the blame from Cohen to Trump? So here's what Rudy Giuliani said. We'll talk about what Rudy Giuliani said last night. Giuliani is, of course, a new member of the Trump legal team. And we'll talk about what Rudy Giuliani said last night that was different and stunning and new. And then we'll talk about the legal ramifications of what he said. So he was on with Sean Hannity, and he said publicly that President Trump had reimbursed Michael Cohen for the Stormy Daniels payoff, which is new. Because remember, flashback, Trump was asked directly by the media about whether he knew about the payoff to Stormy Daniels. This is clip 4, and he said no.
Do you know about the $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels?
And he says no. It's hard to hear him there, but he says no. So Giuliani says basically that's not true. Trump paid off Stormy Daniels via Michael Cohen. He at least reimbursed Michael Cohen. Now, there's a little bit of wiggle room here, but it's kind of hard to believe. The wiggle room here would be that Trump gave a bunch of money to Michael Cohen, not knowing what Michael Cohen was using the money for because he's just that kind of a dude. No. I mean, I don't buy it. I just don't think that passes the smell test. But here's Rudy Giuliani explaining.
I knew how much money Donald Trump put into that campaign. I said, 130,000. He's going to do a couple of checks for 130,000. When I heard Cohen's retainer of 35,000, when he was doing no work for the president, I said, but that's how he's repaying. That's how he's repaying it, with a little profit and a little margin for paying taxes.
Okay, so the idea here is that Trump reimbursed Michael Cohen in the months after the payoff. Okay, now that could actually be a problem. Giuliani then continued, and he tried to backpedal. So he tried to say, listen, Trump paid, but he didn't know what he was paying for. So Michael Cohen he has sort of a slush fund, and he used it for what he wants to use it for. So according to John Roberts over at Fox News, Giuliani said that while Donald Trump reimbursed Cohen for the $130,000 Stormy Daniels payment, president didn't know what the money was used for. Giuliani says Cohen merely told the president he had expenses for which the president reimbursed him. Maybe. I kind of doubt it. The White House obviously is in a little bit of chaos over this because they're not sure what legal strategy Giuliani and Trump are running together. Folks at the White House seem to be out of the loop. The White House was asked about this last night, and here's what they had to say.
We've addressed this many times. Sarah has done that from the podium. I've done it on many shows. Raj has done it as well. But what I can tell you about this instance is it is ongoing legislation. We have nothing to say about it. The president has outside counsel, and that's what I'd have to refer you to. Okay, so they say it's ongoing litigation. The problem is that it was ongoing litigation when Giuliani talked about it publicly. So it's very weird that Giuliani is out there talking about this publicly. So what exactly does all of this mean? So there are three ways in which you could theoretically violate campaign finance law in this situation. Way number one is that Michael Cohen gives an in-kind contribution to Trump by giving Stormy Daniels $130,000. In this case, the violation is Michael Cohen's, right? He's as a good friend, going above and beyond what you're allowed to do in the middle of a campaign. Now, Cohen's defense on this would be, listen, I'm friends with Trump. I pay off his floozies all the time. This had nothing to do with the campaign. It's a little bit difficult to say that because Rudy Giuliani then came out and he actually said publicly that President Trump had wanted this done because it was October and this story shouldn't have broken right before the election. So Giuliani is not doing the president any favors by running his mouth. But the original problem here was Michael Cohen's problem, not Trump's. The original problem here was that Michael Cohen might have violated campaign finance law by giving too much money to the campaign, even if you considered that a campaign contribution, which it may or may not have been. Okay, now Trump steps in and he says, no, it was me, right? I paid off Michael Cohen. So it's not Cohen on the line anymore. Now it's me on the line. Well, yes and no. So there's two ways to read the law. Way number one is to say, okay, Michael Cohen was basically just a cutout. Trump was paying Stormy Daniels. Trump's allowed to pay Stormy Daniels, but this puts Trump in a little bit of hot water because he didn't report the contribution to his own campaign to the FEC. Right? So Trump, theoretically, if he had paid, let's say there had been no Michael Cohen, he just paid Stormy Daniels $130,000 to shut up before the election and then not reported that to the FEC, would that be a campaign finance violation? So maybe yes, maybe no. The case for yes is that it's right before the election. It's a payoff that's meant to shut somebody up right before the election. It sounds like it's a payoff to shut somebody up right before the election. Campaign finance contribution, right? Trump financed his own campaign, and so he should have reported it. The counter is Trump pays people off all the time, exactly as the counter would have been for Michael Cohen. Okay, so that's possibility number one right now in terms of campaign finance violations for Trump. Possibility number two is that Michael Cohen is not actually off the hook. So the popular theory is that Cohen was off the hook now that Trump has said he paid for it, but not utterly clear. So George Conway, who's Kellyanne Conway's husband and who is in fact a prosecutor, he says he tweeted out a section from the FEC website talking about personal gifts and loans. Quote, if any person, including a relative or friend of the candidate, gives or loans the candidate money for the purpose of influencing any election for federal office, the funds are not considered personal funds of the candidate, even if they are given to the candidate directly. Instead, the gift or loan is considered a contribution from the donor to the campaign, subject to the per-election limit. In other words, even if Michael Cohen paid off Stormy Daniels and was reimbursed by Trump, that is now considered a loan to the campaign by Michael Cohen, which surpasses the amount of money he was allowed to contribute, so he may still be in trouble. He still may have made an unlawful campaign contribution to President Trump. Now, all of this sounds like it should be secondary to the major issue, which is that the President of the United States was paying off a porn star in the middle of the election cycle and then lying about it to the American public for months. Right? This is a serious moral problem. Okay, but this is not going to damage Trump in any way, realistically speaking, because
Everybody knows what Trump is. So it's funny. The left today, they're saying, well, why isn't the right turning on Trump? The right isn't turning on Trump because is anyone shocked by this? Is anyone surprised? I didn't believe for one solitary second that Trump had not paid off Stormy Daniels. I don't believe for one solitary second that Trump didn't screw Stormy Daniels. I am sure he did. Okay, I don't believe for a solitary second that Trump has clean hands in all of this. But why is that surprising? I mean, he's Donald Trump. This goes to my strong markets efficiency theorem about President Trump, which is that President Trump, everything is priced in. All the garbage, all the nonsense, all of it is priced in. So if Trump's at 49% in the approval ratings right now, and he's somewhere in the 40s, all of this is priced in. None of this is really going to damage him in any serious way, just as the Monica Lewinsky scandal only damaged President Clinton a little bit because everybody already knew that Bill Clinton was scum with women. So this is not a real shock at all. But nonetheless, the media are treating this like a major revelation because, in fact, it is a serious problem for law, right? I mean, there could actually be a prosecution on the basis of this for campaign finance violations, although the predicate for such prosecutions is pretty slim. Right? Remember, John Edwards was prosecuted for something very similar after he did the same thing in 2008 election cycle. If you recall, John Edwards had a mistress. He impregnated his mistress, and then he had his donors give $1 million to shut her up. He was prosecuted on 6 counts federally. There's a hung jury, and then the charges were dropped. Presumably, this would be a very, very similar case, although it's for a lot less money. And if you're talking about people violating the extent of the campaign finance regulations, Barack Obama raised like $2 million through illegal donations in 2008, and he was never prosecuted under any semblance of the law. So while everybody on the left is suggesting this is the downfall of Trump, I really highly doubt that. I have a little more to say on this, but first I want to talk about Dollar Shave Club. So our friends at Dollar Shave Club make the best products for your bathroom. Your bathroom has a lot of junk lying around. You got old razors, and they're all rusty, and it's just... your bathroom's gross. That's why you ought to clean it out, and you ought to get just Dollar Shave Club products. So Dollar Shave Club is more than just razors. It's better than shopping in a store. They have razors, shave butter, shampoo, body wash, toothpaste. They're amazing butt wipes. Everything you need to look, smell, and feel your best. I get that amazing, high-quality shave every morning with the Dollar Shave Club Executive Razor right here under the jawline. It is the best razor that I have used. And they have Dr. Carver's shave butter, which goes on clear so you're not slicing your own jugular. And since DSC delivers everything to you, you don't have to set foot in a store, which is great. For those dudes who have girlfriends who are married, let me tell you, when your wife can't load up the shopping list with a bunch of stuff for you to get because you're not going to the store in the first place, great way to avoid responsibility. So Dollar Shave Club can make that happen for you. Clean up your bathroom and your morning routine. Join Dollar Shave Club today, and for just $5 with free shipping, you get that 6-blade executive razor plus trial sizes of shave butter, body cleanser, and the One Wipe Charlies. Then you can keep the blades coming for just a few bucks more per month. Get yours at dollarshaveclub.com/Ben. Again, use that /Ben so they know we sent you. It's dollarshaveclub.com/Ben, and you get for $5 that 6-blade executive razor, the entire package, and then keep the blades coming for a few more bucks a month. Really convenient. dollarshaveclub.com/Ben. So the White House is apparently in a little bit of chaos over all of what Giuliani has had to say. So according to Politico, Giuliani joined Trump's legal team with a mandate to quickly and aggressively stamp out the various investigations dogging the presidency. Instead, he's causing new migraines for the White House. Giuliani appeared to stun Fox News host Sean Hannity on Wednesday night by revealing that Trump reimbursed his personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, for $130,000 payment Cohen had made to the porn actress Stormy Daniels for silence about an alleged affair. The statement, along with Giuliani's comment that Trump didn't know about the general arrangements of the payment, appeared to contradict the president's denial of any knowledge of the deal. Now, the difference here, of course, is that President Clinton committed perjury. Trump may have lied, but he didn't commit perjury because he wasn't in any testimony, right? He wasn't testifying before Congress. He hadn't talked to the FBI yet. Just another reason why you should not have the president speaking to Robert Mueller and the FBI. If you do, the chances that he fibs, at least a little bit, are 197% out of a possible 100%. Okay, the chances that Trump says something that is wrong in those hearings, I've been talking with some folks from the White House, and what I've been saying is, look, if Trump is subpoenaed by Robert Mueller, all he should do is go in and say, I don't recall. Okay, whenever you watch the movies and you see people say, I don't recall, the reason that sounds like an admission of guilt is because you think that they're trying to escape the truth. But in Trump's case, the reason that you would say, I don't recall, is because you can't actually be prosecuted for saying, I don't recall. And Trump is likely to step on his own toes. And I'm using toes euphemistically there. Now, the president of the United States has a bad habit of saying things that get in his own way. And so you don't want him in a room with Robert Mueller for 12 hours talking about Stormy Daniels. The chances of some sort of perjury charge coming out of that are a lot higher than Trump just going in and saying, I don't remember, right? This is what any lawyer would say, by the way. This has nothing to do with PR. The PR spin is a completely different spin. But the lawyerly spin of any client that I had as a lawyer, if they were in this sort of situation, I would tell them you don't talk to anyone, right? This is the first rule of lawyering. If you're ever arrested by the police, Okay, I'm not talking about whether you're innocent or guilty here. I'm talking about good legal strategy. If you are ever arrested by the police or if the FBI come to talk to you, your first answer is always going to be, I need my lawyer. And your second answer is going to be, I don't know, I don't recall, I plead the fifth. Talking to the people who are presumably going to prosecute you is never a particularly smart move. Okay, this is not me playing O.J. Simpson's lawyer here. This is me just saying that any lawyer worth their salt would say the exact same thing about any client they had under any circumstances. Okay, so meanwhile, damage control is underway at the White House. So Trump on Twitter has tried to bring attention back to the argument that such a payment would not be a violation of campaign finance law. So this morning, President Trump is tweeting about it. And he tweets, Mr. Cohn, an attorney received a monthly retainer, not from the campaign and having nothing to do with the campaign, from which he entered into through reimbursement a private contract between two parties known as a non-disclosure agreement or NDA. Clearly, Trump has his lawyer actually tweeting for him in this case. I mean, this is clearly not Trump tweeting. And it's obvious from the grammar. It's obvious from the syntax. But that's fine. I mean, what he's saying here, he's making his case. He says these agreements are very common among celebrities and people of wealth. Okay, well, I mean, to be fair, NDAs where you pay off porn stars for having sex with them while your wife was just recovering from a pregnancy, is it very common among celebrities and people of wealth? I mean, it might be like some of them do it, but I'm not going to pretend that everybody does it. In this case, it is full force and effect and will be used in arbitration for damages against Ms. Clifford Daniels. The agreement was used to stop the false and extortionist accusations made by her about an affair, despite already having signed a detailed letter admitting there was no affair. Okay, now, it is important to note here, she signed that detailed letter admitting there was no affair under the terms of the settlement agreement. Prior to its violation by Ms. Clifford and her attorney, this was a private agreement. Money from the campaign or campaign contributions played no role in this transaction. Okay, so all of that is, that's Trump's case, right? And that goes to the legal case that I was talking about. The suggestion is by Trump that he was just giving Michael Cohen a bunch of money, didn't know where that money was going. Michael Cohen then used that money out of the goodness of his heart, having nothing to do with the campaign, right? That's the way that everybody escapes legal liability here. It doesn't help Trump in the PR war, but I'm not sure Trump needs help in the PR war because, again, Trump is Trump. I mean, you can clock the guy with 87 porn star charges and no one is going to care because everybody already assumes he's doing all of this stuff. So White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders went on Fox and Friends. He said, I think this is a distraction and a distraction to the American people. I think it's a real disservice to them about not hearing about a lot of great things taking place in the administration. Well, that would be true, except for the fact that Giuliani was sent out there by Trump to say things on Hannity. Again, I agree. There's a lot of great stuff happening inside the administration. For example, here's a news story that nobody is talking about today because we're all talking about Rudy Giuliani. 3 Americans held in North Korea could be freed soon. Trump tweeted out yesterday, as everybody is aware, the past administration has long been asking for 3 hostages to be released from a North Korean labor camp, but to no avail. Stay tuned. So there's solid rumors today that North Korea is going to release these 3 people in the run-up to their negotiations with the President of the United States. Trump was apparently referring to Tony Kim, also known as Kim Sang-duk, an American teacher detained by North Korea in April 2017, Kim Hak-song, known as Jing Ju-song, whose detention was announced the following month, and Kim Dong-chul, who was arrested in 2015. They right now are supposed to be in a North Korean labor camp. So now it appears that the North Koreans may in fact be working to release these 3 Americans. Is that a Trump triumph? Well, without any other information, sure, of course it is. I mean, without any other information, of course it's a Trump triumph. Now, if Trump makes a bunch of concessions to the North Koreans based on that, then of course it's not a triumph. But this is a very good story for Trump. Just on its face, it's a very good story for Trump. But the fact that Giuliani decided to run out there and talk openly about the Stormy Daniels payment is a distraction created by the White House. And it just gives more air to people like Michael Avenatti, who is, of course, the attorney for Stormy Daniels. Avenatti has appeared in the last month 59 times on CNN. 59 times. The previous record had been held by Adam Schiff at like 10. But apparently, Michael Avenatti now has actually rented out the green room. Like, he actually has a bathroom there. He's brought in a sleeping bag. He basically just hangs out on the set at CNN waiting for Trump to say stuff. And so Michael Avenatti on MSNBC yesterday, he's also on MSNBC a lot, he says that he was speechless about Giuliani's revelations. You know, obviously he believes that this gives more impetus to his claims that Trump was innately involved with the Stormy Daniels payoff and that it was a campaign finance violation.
You know, I have to tell you, I am rarely, as your viewers know, rendered speechless, but I am absolutely speechless at this revelation and this admission. And I hope that your viewers and I hope the American people, upon hearing this and watching that clip, they should be outraged.
Okay, I'm not sure why they should be outraged except for the fact that Trump lied. But again, is anyone shocked by the fact that Trump lied about sex? Like, again, do I think it's bad? Yes. It's so funny. We're now repeating the exact arguments from the 90s. So the Democrats used to say in the 90s about President Clinton's sexual peccadillos, well, it's just about sex. And then Republicans would say, no, it's about lying. And the Democrats would say, well, everybody lies about sex. Well, now just reverse the parties and you have the exact same argument being made. Right? Republicans saying it's just about sex, and Democrats saying, well, no, he lied about the sex. And Republicans are saying, well, everybody lies about the sex. Okay, here's the reality. Not everybody lies about the sex. Trump is not good when it comes to women. He's a very immoral man when it comes to his treatment of women in his personal life. He has been for 40 years. Okay, that's nothing new. But that's the point. It's nothing new. Okay, end of story. So is that going to have any serious impact on him politically? Probably not, unless something criminal is on the back of this, which I seriously doubt, because I don't think that the case is quite solid enough. Now, meanwhile, Rudy Giuliani wasn't just talking about that. Rudy Giuliani seems to be setting up the possibility that President Trump is going to fire Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General, and then fire Robert Mueller along with him. I don't think that Trump is going to do that. I don't think Trump should do that. But Rudy Giuliani is speaking in rather militant tones about Robert Mueller. It's pretty amazing, actually. Here's Giuliani yesterday saying that, well, first of all, Rudy Giuliani did say that Robert Mueller was obviously trying to trap Trump into perjury. And then he was trying to say that Trump fired Comey over his failure to clear Trump over Russia. This, of course, is my theory all along. The reason that Giuliani talking about all of this being not particularly useful is because all of this is going to come out in the wash. I really believe that if the administration just sits, and they just sit and they wait, and they don't try to force things, that Mueller has no evidence that Trump fired James Comey to cover anything up, because Trump wasn't actually trying to cover anything up. And this has been my contention all along. The reason that Trump fired James Comey is because he was pissed that James Comey wouldn't clear him on Russia. And I don't mean that he wouldn't shut down the investigation, but that he wouldn't say publicly that Trump wasn't under investigation. Trump has basically said as much. Well, Giuliani reiterated that last night.
He fired Comey because Comey would not, among other things, say that he wasn't a target of the investigation. He's entitled to that. Hillary Clinton got that. And he couldn't get that. So he fired him, and he said, I'm free of this guy. And he went on Lester Holt. Lester Holt's interview was as good as anybody could do, better than I think any of the people around Mueller could have done. Lester Holt asked him, why'd you do it? He said, I did it because I felt that I had to explain to the American people their president was not the target of the investigation.
Okay, now that is obviously true, what Giuliani is saying here, but rehashing this entire case, you could see this easily as President Trump sending Giuliani out there to make the case that there's nothing for Mueller to find, so we ought to fire Mueller. And Giuliani went further than this. He said James Comey is a liar. He called him a pervert, which is really interesting. So here's Giuliani going after James Comey hammer and tongs.
I know James Comey. I know the president. Sorry, Jim, you're a liar, a disgraceful liar. Every FBI agent in America has his head down because of you. Well, he lied about his conversation with McCabe. He knew all of McCabe's conflicts. McCabe should testify against him. He lied about his conversations with the president. He lied about the fact that they talked about whether the president was a subject or a target. Then he immediately changed it.
The reality is that James Comey, the one thing he lied about is the idea that he didn't leak to his friend. He obviously leaked to his friend. That's James Comey's biggest lie. But in terms of general honesty, I don't think that James Comey is a giant liar. I just think that James Comey is rather spineless. I think that James Comey is a guy who at every step of the way was madly incompetent and made a lot of mistakes and then is acting righteously indignant after he was fired for, I think, pretty decent reason. But the question is why Giuliani's doing all of this now. And the answer may be that maybe, in fact, Trump is thinking of firing Mueller. Now, if that's the case, Mr. President, please do not do this. Do not do this. It will all be okay. Don't rush the game. And the fact is that Robert Mueller is going to come out one way or another with something or nothing. If he comes out with the stuff as weak as it sounds like he's going to come out with, everybody on the right and people in the middle are going to say this is a big, fat nothing. This has been a witch hunt. This has been a waste of time. It's been a waste of money. Firing him precipitously would only allow the left to claim that you are, in fact, obstructing justice by shutting down the investigation. Don't shut this down precipitously. I don't think that it's that Mueller has a right to finish his investigation. He doesn't. I mean, the fact is the president can fire him, and that would be perfectly legal. And then it would be up to Mueller to show that it actually was obstruction, that this actually was an attempt to shut down an investigation, not just pure frustration on Trump's part. But if the idea here is to set the sort of framework for Trump firing Mueller, firing Rosenstein, I think that would be a big political mistake. And I don't think the president needs to follow that right now. I don't think the president needs to make that sort of political mistake because I think the president's doing okay. I mean, his approval ratings right now are as good as they've been. The Democrats continue to flounder. And there's a new poll out yesterday showing the Democrats are only up 3 on the congressional generic ballot. That's an incredible thing, right? Why exactly are they only up 3? Well, part of it is because President Trump's economy is so fantastic. I mean, the economy under President Trump has been excellent. Part of it is the fact that the Democrats suck at everything, and the Democrats are so radical. So this is an amazing thing. Yesterday, Hillary Clinton was out there talking about, again, why she didn't win in 2016, and it's everybody else's fault. It's not Hillary Clinton's fault, but she stumbled on something true. She stumbled on something true, and it's pretty amazing. So here's Hillary Clinton admitting that the entire Democratic base, or at least large swaths of it, are full-scale socialists who hate capitalism.
You may be the only presidential candidate since World War II that actually had to stand up and say, I am a capitalist. And you did. Did it hurt you?
Probably. I mean, you know, it's hard. It's hard to know. But I mean, if you're in the Iowa caucuses and 41% of Democrats are socialists or self-described socialists, and I'm asked, are you a capitalist? And I say yes, but with appropriate regulation and appropriate accountability. You know, that probably gets lost in the, oh my gosh, she's a capitalist.
I mean,
okay, so this is exactly right, actually. What she is saying here, that her base cannot tolerate the fact that she is a capitalist, demonstrates how far left the Democratic Party has moved. Hillary Clinton was too right-wing for her own base, which is why they didn't show up. Okay, what we're watching inside the Democratic Party is a radical shift to the left. President Trump has taken advantage of that because President Trump is not nearly as radical on any of these issues. The Democrats, their response to President Trump has not been to moderate, to move to the center, to take back that center that they think that Trump had abandoned. You know, they've been calling Trump far right. Trump has been governing as a very conservative president. Instead of them moving to the center to try to take advantage, which is what a smart political party would do, instead the Democrats have been moving further and further to the left. This is the first time that Hillary Clinton has really recognized that she may be out of step with her own constituency. Right? And she is out of step with her own constituency. And something really bad is happening in the United States among people on the left, and that is this full-scale embrace of socialism itself. There's a poll from Rasmussen. It shows that 46% of Americans now say they favor government-guaranteed jobs for all. So according to Rasmussen reports, Senator Bernie Sanders is looking ahead to the 2020 presidential election with a proposed federal government program that guarantees all Americans a job with health insurance. Nearly half of voters like the idea. 46% of voters say that they like all of this, that they think this is a great idea. That's an amazing, amazing statistic. And again, it demonstrates that the American people are being ill-served by their thought leaders who refuse to explain to them why capitalism is good. The reason that Hillary Clinton could not be a good representative of capitalism is because she really does not believe in capitalism in any serious sense. She believes that capitalism is effective, but she doesn't believe that capitalism is moral. And so Bernie Sanders comes along and he seizes her entire base by saying, listen, capitalism is maybe effective, but it is immoral. And Hillary Clinton is immoral, and anyone who backs capitalism is immoral. This is why it's incumbent on Americans to stand up and say no to socialism and say that socialism itself is immoral. Because socialism itself is immoral. The idea that you were born and therefore you deserve crap from the government is nonsense. The idea that you sit there and you exist, and therefore everyone who is around you ought to give you things, that is a purely selfish idea. It is immoral. It's a violation of at least 3 of the 10 commandments. Right? The 10 commandments include the idea that you're not supposed to worship government as God. They include the ban on theft. It is indeed theft if you and your friends vote to steal my money. And they ban, and 10 commandments ban jealousy. You're not allowed to envy your neighbor's donkey. You're not supposed to be looking at your friend's property and eyeing it for seizure. But because people have stopped speaking in moral terms, there's an upswing on the socialist left, and that upswing ended up toppling Hillary Clinton. It was a serious problem for Hillary Clinton. Now, the radicalization of the left is a serious problem for the Democratic Party in general, not just for Hillary Clinton. I'll explain that in just a second. But first, you're going to have to go over to dailywire.com and subscribe. For $9.99 a month, you can get the rest of this show live. You can also get the Michael Klavan show live, the Andrew Klavan show live, the Michael Knowles show live. And you can also get this, the very greatest in all beverage vessels. For $99 a year, the annual subscription, you get this, the tumbler, plus all of those aforementioned wonders. And you get to be part of the mailbag, which we'll be doing tomorrow on the show. Plus, we have a brand new Ben Shapiro show that is coming out every Sunday. It's the Ben Shapiro Show Sunday Special, in which I host weekly in-depth conversations with the world's best and brightest on politics, news, culture, everything in between. We have a slate of guests that's going to knock your socks off. It's really fantastic. And our first guest this Sunday is, of course, the world-famous Jordan Peterson. Jordan is fantastic, and I think you're really going to enjoy the interview. So subscribe right now to the Ben Shapiro Show. If you're already subscribed, then it will continue to pop up in your feed. So you don't have to subscribe to anything new. This will just pop up in your feed like any other episode, and you'll get to listen to it. It's pretty awesome. You're really going to like it. And if you're not subscribed now, you really should, so that you make sure that you get those episodes, because I think they really are fantastic. So check that out. Subscribe, leave us a review. We are the largest, fastest growing conservative podcast in the nation.